All right, so in this video, we're going to look at HTML document structure. So first off, I want to give you a little challenge here. Go ahead and open up your web browser and your text editor. Just as a reminder, I used Google Chrome as my web browser, and I used brackets as my text editor. And set them up so that they are in split screen mode. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. Open up Google, open up brackets, set them up in full screen mode. And don't feel bad if you forget stuff throughout this course. That's the reason for the review, so don't be too hard on yourself. Okay, so I'm going to create a new text file, HTML file rather, by pressing Command N. And there we go, it automatically creates a new one because I want to give us some more practice in creating and saving files. So I'm just going to save this right now, even while it doesn't have anything in it, by pressing Command S. Okay, this thing looks a little bit wonky. You can just bring the cursor up and it'll kind of show you more. So I want to save it to desktop, and I will call this index.html. Remember to add this .html file extension. This will let your computer know what application to use to open this file. So I will save that. Okay, good. So I'll also just open the empty file right now in Google with Command O. And again, this thing looks a little wonky, so I'll just bring it up. Good, so we're already on desktop and we see it right there. Open that. As you can see, it is empty. Okay, so first thing that you want to do when you are writing your HTML file is declare the doc type, or write a doc type declaration. So we are going to be using HTML5, which is the newest current version of HTML. You don't need to use an older version, and it's very important that you do let the browser know which version you are using. Otherwise, the page will not display as you intended it to, probably. Okay, so in order to write our doc type declaration, I use a less than sign, an exclamation mark, and I type doc type space HTML, and a greater than sign. That is the doc type declaration, and it looks a little bit cryptic, I will say. But basically, it's just letting the browser know we're using HTML5. This doc type right here, you could write this in lowercase if you want. Now that we're working with HTML5, in older versions, it was case sensitive, now it's not. But I guess for the sake of tradition, I'll just keep it all caps. All right, good. So I will save that with Command S and refresh, and it makes no difference to the page. Still an empty page. But as we do scale into bigger sites, this is very important. Now we're actually going to get to our first HTML tag. This is actually not an HTML tag, but we're now going to learn our first HTML tag, and that is, incidentally, the HTML tag. So that is an opening tag for an HTML element. What do I mean by that? Well, if there's an opening tag, what else is there? There is a closing tag. And see, there would be some content in between here. I'll just put some spaces, but there would be some content in between these HTML tags. But this is the opening HTML tag. This is the closing HTML tag. And the only difference is this / immediately following the less than sign. So when the browser sees this tag, it knows, okay, there's an HTML element. And when it sees this, it knows, okay, that was the end of the HTML element. So I'm actually going to cover a new concept here, which is nesting. So nesting is when you put HTML tags inside of HTML tags. And you can just go on and on and on and put practically as many tags as you want inside of other tags. This would be called nesting. So I have indented my cursor right here, as you can see. So it was over here, and then I pressed tab to move it forward. That is good practice so that it becomes easier for you and other developers to read your code. Especially if you're working on a website with other people, you definitely want to make sure that you're considerate so that they can understand what you're writing. So inside of our HTML element, we are going to put another element, and that is the head element. So that is the opening head tag. Try to guess how you would close the head tag. The way to do that would be the same as opening it, just with a / before the less than sign. And then inside of the head tag, we would have some content. So let's talk about what exactly an element is. This right here, this whole thing, head, content, head, is an element. Actually, that little less than arrow should be selected too. Okay, so that is all a head element. This is the opening tag, the head right here. This would be the content, and this is the closing tag, and the whole thing is an element. So inside of this head tag, we wouldn't just have plain text. This is where data goes for the browser's sake. This is called metadata. And I'm going to show you one tag that we're going to use inside of the head section right now. Okay, so I'll press enter and again indent so that it becomes easier to read. And I'm going to create a title element. Remember, the element is the opening tag, the content, as well as the closing tag. So since I'm creating a title element, try to guess how you would create the opening and closing tag of a title element. Don't put anything inside of it, just title element. Here's how I would do that. Okay, there's the opening tag, and there's the closing tag. I also want to cover something here. Title has been nested inside of head. So we would say that title is a child of head. Okay? Likewise, head is nested inside of HTML. So we would say that head is a child of HTML. Remember, whenever a tag is nested inside of another tag, it just means it's inside of another tag. So right here, we're actually going to add the title of our web page. I want to draw your attention to what this tab says right now. It just says the file name, index.html, but that's not really that awesome. I want to make it a little cooler. So I will call it grand title. So I just put text inside of my title tags as the content. I will save this and refresh, and it updates the title. Awesome. So titles are actually very important also for browsers to determine what your web page is about. So we covered a lot of stuff right here. We have our doc type declaration. We have our HTML tags, inside of which all the HTML on our web page goes. We have our head tag where we put data that is specifically for the browser's sake. And we used a title tag in order to set a title for our web page. We also learned about indentation and nesting and parent-child relationships. In the next video, I'm going to teach you about the body section of an HTML document so that way you can actually add visible content to your web page. See you in the next video.